This episode of Town Hall Heroes is brought to you by you, the viewers. Thank you so much for supporting us on patreon.com/townhallheroes.
Welcome here to Town Hall Heroes. Happy birthday,
Hello everyone and welcome to episode 166 of Town Hall Heroes. I am Solid Jake. We've got Baker this week. Dunk Train is on vacation and we've got two first-timer guests, Kala and Goku. We're going in on pretty much all the end of the year topics. We're recapping basically the patch that came out last week since we didn't really actually get to talk about anything effectively during Town Holiday. We're going to go in on Hanzo a little bit deeper. A new hero was announced. And of course, the Hero League resets debacle and much more. But Bakery, how was your Christmas?
It's been a weird Christmas. You know, not especially good weird or bad weird, just a bit weird and quite different. But overall, I've quite enjoyed myself. You know, I got to stream on Christmas Day, which was cool. I got to play Lego Star Wars, which I bought, which is fantastic. And a quick update for everyone. Dunk Train is alive and well. He's just on vacation. He's recovered. It's all good, you know. He's fine.
Town Holiday was so brutal that he actually had to take 2 weeks off streaming. Like, wasn't planned at all. Well, Kala, you are not only the coach and analyst for Tempo Storm, you're a musician. You're just an all-around badass nerd. What else? What else are you?
I think that's it. I guess in the online space, that's what I do. I, as you said, coach and analyst for Tempo Storm. And yeah, I'm a vocalist for a band. I also play a bunch of guitar and I write music and stuff like that. But yeah, in the online space, that's what I do.
You know, a really common question, you know, I see online in streams is, Jake, how do I get involved in esports? How do you become a coach? How did that happen?
Okay. So I'm super passionate about this topic. What I did personally, I'm not sure is available to many people right now, or at least in a game the size of Heroes of the Storm at this point. What I did was I came from League of Legends. I was a Diamond 180 carry main. Before that, you know, I played World of Warcraft Arena. So like the competitive gaming space was something that I was quite familiar with. So as soon as Heroes of the Storm came out, I went right from League of Legends to HOTS, and you know I could play the game mechanically quite well, and I learned the game very fast because I was a high-level League player. From there, I was basically just like browsing the Heroes subreddit, and Fnatic was hiring for an analyst position. I applied, provided all my application information, and basically like an example of how I would analyze HOTS games. And then I went through a brief interview period, and they picked me up, and I worked with them for about a year. I started with like the Freds, Shinobu, Ace of Spades, Lowell lineup, you know, like the really old one. Yeah, way back when. And then January of 2017, this year, I applied at Tempo Storm and got that job. So that's how I got in. But like how anybody gets in now, I swear, all you have to do is just find out what you want to do and then just do it.
Just grind.
Who cares how many likes? Yeah, who cares how many likes you get on Twitter, how many upvotes you get on Reddit? Just be consistent with the content that you want to create and the job space that you want to create, and I guarantee you will find success in it as long as you're consistent. So like I have people coming up to me all the time, and I personally am willing to help out anybody who's trying to make a job in this space. So if you are, like my Twitter is available, you just reach out to me and I will do my best to help guide you down the path that can help you turn this or whatever you want to do in Heroes of the Storm into a job. But that's all it is, man. It's just being consistent. I wanted to coach and analyze games, so I did it.
So he's also a mentor and just an incredibly generous human being, apparently. That's his full introduction. We also have Goku, the Super Saiyan of North America, the flex player for Roll20, and the golden hair extraordinaire. Welcome to the show. What's your background? How did you become a pro gamer?
Jesus, that was an amazing introduction, Kala. I don't think I can match that, but I guess similar. I guess the beginning part with Kala. I was a League player for I guess a short amount of time. swapped over to HOTS just because I love the Warcraft, Diablos, StarCraft series, just all of them. And then it's weird. I guess my first debut technically, not in the into the top 8 in North America, but it was with what was it? Sorry, Goon Squad. I was trying to remember right there. That was a long time ago. That was when we were an amateur team. But at first, I actually met Handlebars, and then we made a team. Then I got approached by APM. Yeah, APM. I forgot he swapped his name over.
Yeah.
Yeah. Matre, that was his old name. Jesus, that was a long time ago. But then that went to Goon Squad. Then it over an amount of time went to Tempo Storm, and then I slowly started making a name for myself. It kind of snowballed out of that.
That's good, man. I mean, glad to have you guys here. Obviously, you guys have way more insight on what's going on at the highest level of Heroes of the Storm. You know, constantly involved with scrims since the 2018 gameplay update came out, because there have been no tournaments played on this patch, and I think that's the one big thing that everybody is super interested in. Is the meta changing? How is the meta evolving? And where does the game stand? Because the number one question that I'm seeing in streams is the game more snowbally? It feels way more snowbally for us, and that's kind of like a question I have for you guys. Do you find that at the highest level games in these scrims with the 2018 update, that games are 3-level leads more often, or even more than that? Is that a recurring theme?
I would say absolutely, yeah. Maybe it's because no teams have really found out exactly what the meta is, so then something comes at them and they don't know how to respond to it dynamically and actually like find out ways to play against it on the fly, and then it results in a snowball and you end up losing the game. Maybe that's the reason why, because of the changes, or it's just the way that the game is now. I think time is the only thing that can really tell on that aspect, but right now I do see a pretty consistent trend that's showing that the game is much more snowbally.
Goku, would you agree?
Yeah, I think that's for sure. I think certain maps have been actually extended longer, more specifically Towers of Doom, if anything. The game's definitely goes to like level 24. It's a little bit out of control, but other maps for sure, it's been definitely snowballing, and that's I would say partially due to the globe changes and obviously the structure changes.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely true. Oh, okay, and also like on Cursed Hollow, or any other map in general, I guess, that has dedicated spawn points for objectives, you can build compositions and play around the map based on exactly where things are going to spawn. So if you're ahead of your opponent in that aspect, it's just another variable that can allow you to snowball. So like there's so many different things in the game right now that allow you to snowball. Like the globe change is another huge one that Goku just mentioned.
I'm glad you brought that up, actually, because that's something I wanted to ask. Is basically, do you feel like the telegraphing map objective changes have affected the game in a big way? And do you think they've also contributed to making the game more snowbally?
Yeah, I definitely do. And I actually think, regions historically like Europe that would play things, like Sylvanas more often than North America, stuff like that, or even like, you could even say, hey, it's like Sergeant Hammer or something like that. Like you can build specific comps that, your whole point is to take the first 2 objectives on Cursed Hollow, and then you rush a boss after that. And if your opponents are playing 1 step behind every time and they're reacting to all of your plays, maybe they don't even trade the boss at 2 out of 3 on tributes. And then you get a boss, and then at like 5 minutes, yeah. And then you curse the enemy team, and then you just win the game off that. Like you can do that sort of stuff completely telegraphed instead of just guessing in some situations. So I think it does result in snowballier situations, but I also just think it's because people haven't figured out how to play the game exactly right now. So it will probably level out in time.
Goku, does it feel like there's any meta? Like, I mean, it's Kala saying that the people haven't figured it out yet. Is that also how you feel? Everyone's still kind of experimenting?
I think that's correct for right now as is, just because everything's changed so much. Things even like to the solo lane, it's even changed that everything is just wild. It's kind of rampant. It's basically everybody's throwing blind darts until they gather enough information where they can be like, okay, maybe this is the meta. But it's right now, it's like a experimental phase right now.
Can you elaborate at all on the solo lane situation?
Sure. Right now, the solo lane, well, in certain maps, there's really not a dedicated solo laner, but I'll going towards, I guess, the bigger maps like Cursed Hollow, Sky Temple, where right now, since wave clear is pretty important actually, you want like heroes that can wave clear the lane, and even like defend a Night Camp, because Night Camp is pretty powerful right now. Yeah. Because even like certain compositions before used to like run a Brightwing and she would be able to deal with the Night Camp before, not as much anymore, but you now need like almost like a Dahaka. Like Dahaka's I think going to be still a very high priority because you can at least do that and global in time. So right now it's just, and on top of that with the globe changes, it's basically if you have a good trade, you can snowball the lane out of control.
So clear, obviously very important. They took that away from support, so clear is a higher priority in heroes than it used to be, since you don't have Moonburn, you don't have Rhaegar. You're mentioning that the Night Camps are actually kind of almost taking away from the heroes like Falstad and Brightwing, the global that can deal with that, because even Boomerang it's probably okay at clearing. I haven't tested that myself, but obviously significantly worse. Is there room for specialists with all of these changes? Is Sylvanas now more of a thing because of these factors? Is Gazlo now more of a thing because of these factors? Or are they still just kind of too map specific?
I think you want to go or me?
No, that's all you. All
right. I do think certain specialists are going to be played more often, if anything. I guess with more of the Gazlo topic, I still think he's more of a niche hero.
Yeah.
There's obviously those types of niche heroes within the game, but I think definitely they now have an opportunity, whereas beforehand it was hard for them because they only really provided like a good amount like of wave clear or just like a niche aspect to their role, but now with all the changes, they're definitely going to be played.
See, I thought they would be stronger than they are right now, but again, maybe that's lending to the fact that people just haven't figured out their strengths. Like, as soon as I read the 2018 gameplay update, I was like, oh, okay, I see you, Sylvanas. You know what I mean? Like, okay, I see you, other split push heroes. Like, I thought that they would be a lot stronger than they currently are. And it could be multiple things. It could be, as I said, we haven't figured it out yet, or we're just not willing to believe that that's actually true and put enough emphasis on drafting that sort of style in scrims, even though I guess the scrim environment is the environment to test that.
Yeah.
But it hasn't shown up as being as strong as I previously thought that they would.
So you tell me that I shouldn't just run Possession Sylvanas every game?
I'm not telling you shouldn't, but no, I'm just yeah, you shouldn't. Definitely not. No, just yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
it seemed like they were just going to be so much stronger, but it's not happening the way that I thought. And maybe that's because most specialists, like a lot of their utility came from draining ammunition, and now that that's no longer a thing, like even stuff like a Nubarak not being able to spawn beetles and push out waves on like Tomb of the Spider Queen and stuff like that, like it just seems like they lost so much power when the gameplay changes made it look like they would gain power because their structures seemed inherently stronger. Therefore, heroes that were designed to destroy them would also seem stronger. You know what I mean? But it just didn't end up working that way.
Yeah, it's a good point because, I actually used to play a fair bit of Zagara. If I was in solo lane, that would be my go-to was Zagara. And, especially with the minions getting buffed and then Infest inherently getting the indirect buff, I'm like, okay, Zagara is going to be the go-to. She feels miserable without ammo there, without the roaches to soak up ammo. I now play Sonya instead. Like every single time it's Sonya or Dahaka, I'm never going to pick Zagara for that solo lane because she just does not have that impact anymore with the way that the ammunition is gone and the minions and everything. And it just seems pretty accurate across the board for all of those, except for maybe Sylvanas, right? Sylv can't shut down the towers. That is still super useful.
Yeah. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah.
So here's a good question. Did wave clear get more important or less important after the update? And depending on map. So Cursed Hollow versus Tomb, for example.
I think wave clear got more important because if you're able to establish lane dominance and push out your wave, take your globe, and then have that pushing into the next wave as towers drain your minions, then you can just pick up the next globe. Like if you're able to clear fast like that, or if you come to the wave at like a neutral and your middle minion dies and spawns a globe, and as it's turning neutral, if you're able to clear, and then you can take both globes, I feel like the team with more wave clear has the higher opportunity to get both of the globes and snowball harder. That's what it seemed like to me so far.
I mean, that's just logical, right? You're able to really just push people away, control the space, and benefit greatly. And even just go ahead.
Oh, sorry. And killing mercenary camps. Like, as Goku was saying earlier, they are just so insanely powerful. So the team with greater wave clear also means that they're able to clear out those mercenary camps faster, which is a massive advantage on this patch.
Speaking about mercenary camps, some people were theory crafting that teams would have like a dedicated jungle hero where you pick a hero, you just have them go around, take all the camps from 1 minute onwards, like possibly invade the enemy camps. Like, is that something that we're seeing in scrims as well?
Ooh, I don't know if I can say that, but I think it's okay. I don't know if I can say if that's been happening in scrims, but objectively, that seems like a very smart thing to do. It does, because of the strength of those camps. Not on all the maps, maybe on some maps.
But on like Curse and Sky and
Tomb, for example, Sky's definitely, Garden definitely, but I can't imagine that one's very, very important.
Yeah, so that's all I can say about that one.
It's a great idea overall to have like a kind of like that jungler idea, but I don't think there's really not many heroes to fulfill that role. It's still what I said before. It's experimenting, and I don't think like probably the best map would be Garden because there's so many camps in that map. Yeah. But on like maps like BOE, you really don't need a jungler. So like it's very map dependent.
Which is interesting and healthy. But yeah, I think that's a really good point. That role is so narrow as to who you want to have it. You're not going to draft a Gazlo just to have a good jungler, because he's too vulnerable in a solo lane, because he's just going to get rotated on and just kind of die. He doesn't have the same kind of utility, so that kind of puts Sonya, maybe Illidan, but Sonya just seems like a primo hero for sure. Dahaka having the global that rotate the solo lanes. They tried to give Thrall a little bit of love in the patch. Maybe if he gets a little bit more love, he can fulfill that, jungler solo lane role a little bit more effectively, which could be interesting. But it really feels like that's Blizzard's trying to do a few things. They're trying to they clearly took away that wave clear from supports, and they've made that role of like the solo lane and just super important. They've tried to empower mages by giving them the best wave clear, and I've seen way more mages ever before, at least in my Hero League games. There's constantly Kael'thas's or Gul'dans in almost every single game on one side or the other. I'm not sure if that's true for competitive, but they only struggle when it comes to the night camps. Otherwise, their clear is really just a necessity. And the roles of the game are seeming more defined at my level. Would you guys say that's accurate in scrims, where there are now more true roles rather than double support, and then maybe one assassin locked in a game? Or is the meta still pretty similar to what it was overall?
I think probably the biggest change towards the meta is that now you're required to have wave clear than you did before. Because I think before you could have gotten away with it with certain heroes, and like you just look for like the team fight aspect. But since with the changes to the camps and the minion waves and the structures, it's much more dependent on you to have wave clear. So I think in my opinion, I think we're gonna head back towards like that double support idea. If supports are still going to have that decent wave clear, I think we're still just going to head back to that.
That's pretty much the most true thing you could have possibly said. Like, there have literally been games in scrims where we are up 15 kills on a snowbally map and still just getting absolutely bodied because we didn't draft any wave clear. Like, that's actually happened before. Wave clear is so powerful right now, it's not even funny. Like, if you're just getting all these kills, all of a sudden the enemy team gets one camp, you're done.
Yeah.
You have to apply 3 resources down bottom because the camp's just going to take your fort. Like, it's that huge.
Looking across the board, not just camps, but you've got so many objectives that push, whether it's a curse, but more so things like a Punisher, Immortal, Web Weavers. Do you feel that they're getting infinite more value than before? Not just because of wave clear, but the way that towers and everything have been changed. And to follow that up, if you do think they are stronger, do you think that forts and keeps need a buff?
I do. I think that forts and keeps do need a buff. I believe that the auxiliary tower on forts didn't, like the damage from the auxiliary tower didn't even go to the fort. So the fort is just straight up weaker. Like the fort area, sorry, is straight up weaker than it was before. So absolutely, I do think that they need a buff. And it shows. You know, it's not even just you tanking damage from towers or anything like that. They just feel weaker when 4 of your teammates rotate into a Punisher lane. Like you don't feel as scared. You feel like you can just bust a wall down and just dive. Even, you know, it does soak damage and stuff like that. But even if you start taking tower damage, it just doesn't feel as dangerous as it was before.
I mean, my take on that is why was that 3rd tower removed? Like, I don't know. I don't fully understand why.
I think there were some pathing issues with minions and stuff, sometimes getting caught in certain parts of the map and certain maps, and they just kind of looked at it.
That was only with wells. Like on Dragonshire, there were certain wells that could end up blocking minions and heroes, but like that was the only map that affected anything. I think they did say in their post they wanted to open up the area more because sometimes they felt like it was too enclosed and you had to have more. They wanted to give you more movement options as a defender, but I do not think the payoff as that has been worth it at all. Anytime you get a camp like Knights or a pushing objective like an Immortal or Punisher, like you just march past the fort and you literally act like it's not there because it's not going to hit you until it clears that objective and all of the minions that you brought with you, which by the way are doing tons more damage now.
Yeah, you can easily dive like enemy players and snowball almost off of that now. It's much easier to do that than it was before.
A good example, like on shrines, if we're talking about Punishers, before it used to be like a viable strategy. Let's draft a Ragnaros. We'll give first shrine, okay, and we'll defend it with Molten Core. You can't do that anymore unless your team takes like 2 forts and a wall. You're going to end up like negative off of it because they're just going to get so much momentum off that one push. Like it's absolutely absurd.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, the game is very different for sure. The snowballiness, the force of clear. I don't know. James, what do you think overall?
The one weird thing to me, just finishing off this topic about like the maps and the objectives and how they snowball off of forts. Why were there no changes made to the map scaling? Like, this stuff was testing internally for many months, from what we've heard. It was testing on PTR for about a month as well.
Yeah.
It's now been live for 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Something like that.
Yeah.
At least 2. Yeah.
Like, there's been no changes to map scaling at any point along that cycle. I seriously feel like we should have had something, like, especially Infernal Shrines.
I feel like the idea was to like almost try to elongate like certain like the game itself, so because a lot of time like in competitive at least like some games would just end like 14 minutes, and it felt like what this idea was to make sure the game would last a little bit longer, just to get bring more viewership if anything. But I think it kind of backfired and they just didn't take the idea for like also heroes, because I guess they thought there was enough heroes that can just wave clear it easily and not have a problem. It won't affect the game as much. But now like there's not many that can do that, especially for how much changes was made.
Okay. So, overall, it's a hard-hitting question, guys. So far, in your guys' opinion, has the 2018 gameplay update made the game better or worse?
All right, Goku, this is you, man.
I'm gonna do a little bit more, I guess, directly for me, like my role. So, like obviously the solo lane, the melee flex. Personally, I dislike the solo lane. The solo lane is a little bit more brutal than it used to be, because you could draft like a hero that would lose the lane, but overall would bring a great effort to the team fight. Biggest example, Tyrael. You could leave him in the solo lane, and he just bring a huge impact with sanctification. But Tyrael doesn't have wave clear. Tyrael has a slight mana problem, and on top of that, he can sort of bully the opponent. But if the opponent has a way better counter towards Tyrael, you're just gonna get bullied to the point where you need someone to come and rotate to help you. So I feel like now, like for the solo lane, you need someone that brings that wave clear, can rotate in a decent amount of time, and on top of that, can bring an impact to the team fight. Like, you basically need everything. And right now, I feel like the best hero for that is like the Haka. So
those are good words on solo lane. Looking at the entire game, I think that the 2018 gameplay update has the potential to make the game better. I think at this point it is incomplete because of the things that we've previously talked about already. But I think that if they are able to change some small things about the way the game works, I think that it is going to be a healthy thing for Heroes of the Storm. I personally like being able to jump onto a map like Cursed Hollow and be like, okay, we're going to draft X, Y, and Z, and we're going to take this camp at this time. We're going to give up this objective because it's spawning here, and like be able to actually like plan out the entire game front to back. I like that aspect, and if all of the issues with the game get ironed out, then I think it's going to be a positive change for HOTS.
Biggest issue, in your opinion, what is it? What is the worst balanced part of the changes we have?
I don't like the globes. There you go. Yeah, Night Camp and globes for me, actually. That's a good point. Yeah.
Night Camp
I think it's just...
Go ahead.
Okay, for me personally, it's just about the maps not being tuned for this update. Like, the fact that the first Punisher can potentially take keep if you get kills when you dive the fort is absolute insanity. Yeah. Like, we should have had like scaling changes to map objectives. The first Immortal shouldn't be able to take keep wall either on Battlefield. Like, when it's spawning later, they're getting inherently stronger, and since forts themselves are weaker, it's like two things in a row that are just buffing, like just buffing pushing objectives, and they just were not touched, and I think they needed to be. So for me, it's that.
I mean, I've seen 4-minute keeps several times in Hero League, often enabled by Sylvanas or something, but it's just like, it's insane, like, should that ever be in the game? Probably not, unless it's a pro team playing against a bunch of silver players or something, right? It's like, it's insane how demoralizing that feels to be on the other side too. Like, you just feel like, well, at least it was quick, please let it end, team. This is over.
And then they farm you on your core for another 5 minutes. Feels bad, man.
Yeah. Please no.
Yeah.
But so globes you don't like. And Goku, would you agree with that? Would you agree with the globes not being good? You said Night Camp personally, but you've been talking about the solo lane, and globes are a big part of that.
Globes are a pretty big part of that. I guess more important into a map, like bigger maps, just because like it takes way too long to send someone to help the solo lane. But for short maps like D-Shire, Tomb of Spider Queen, where you can easily rotate to that solo lane, I don't think it's an issue. But I do think it's an issue with the bigger maps right now, just because like you can go. You can go.
It also changes up the way that talent builds work too. Like a Mana Addict and stuff like that. Like, you can stack it twice as fast. Like, I've stacked Mana Addict at like 3 minutes. ETC's his healing talent as well. Like, there's so many different things that it changes as well in the game that I don't think anybody really addressed as fully as they should have. Perhaps like they needed to increase those numbers or something like that, because those are just direct buffs, like straight up. No changes whatsoever. So it just seems like it wasn't as well thought out as it needed to be.
Yeah. Questing talents with globes can be completed so quickly. That shouldn't happen. Well, I think like before all these changes, it was a little bit balanced, but now it's just way too powerful.
Those numbers need to be changed a little bit up, maybe 20%, 25% at least, or something.
Yeah, exactly.
That's fair. What if the globes, when they go neutral, are weaker or something? Would that help too? Or, I mean, it doesn't change the questing talent. Right.
Yeah. It would help the snowballing aspect, but that it wouldn't change the questing. I think that perhaps that would be a step in the right direction for sure.
Yeah, it would help, if anything, the solo lane, if anything. But like, questing talents, you do need to change that, if anything.
Yeah. Oh. Fair points. All right. Well, 2018 update, obviously, it's a big one. You guys even admitted that it's not necessarily figured out when it comes to the scrims and that whole element of heroes. I totally just opened a program I don't want to open. Go away, OBS. Hopefully it didn't destroy my webcam. We're safe. Nice. We're going to transition to talk a little bit about Hanzo. You know, this is a hero that, you know, I have been playing a little bit of. Oh my goodness, why is it in the wrong spot? And I think he's a blast to play. He seems like he has huge damage output. Kala, I know you're eager to talk about him. What do you think of the other Shimada brother?
Okay, removed from competitive play, I absolutely love Hanzo. I love the way he feels. His Q is exactly how I would want it to be as a Varus player from League of Legends. Like it just feels right. You know what I mean? His W is interesting. It may not be as consistent as I would like it to be with the damage output, but I love the way it works. It's something that's, you know, completely different. If you compare it to any other ability in HOTS. His E, you know, it's pretty standard, but it's a fun ability to use when you're using it. Like just the animation, just the way it like pulse, like everything. It's just a cool ability. Aesthetically pleasing. His whole kit is. I absolutely love him. I don't know why I just sounded like Yoda there, but however, we move on to his trait, natural agility, right? That's what it's called.
Yeah,
I think it's natural agility. Yeah. Okay. It's awful. It's absolutely awful. Like it feels like hot garbage. I have a command on my Twitch that just shows this video I made. It was super troll, but I'm actually, I think 70% of the way over a wall. Okay, and then I get queued by a Diablo, and I get teleported back onto the wall where I originally jumped from. Like it feels too slow. Maybe it needs some sort of invulnerability at some point throughout the animation, or it just needs to be sped up or something like that. It doesn't feel as fluid as, say, his brother's abilities. You know, like
not even close.
Exactly. That's my main problem with it. My second problem with Hanzo is Dragon Strike. It doesn't nearly do enough damage. I think that's probably pretty much it. The difference in damage between the middle and the outsides maybe isn't big enough or something. I don't know. I've used it a whole bunch, but every single time I even get it in like a mosh pit, I'm like, oh, okay, well, that felt like I barely even got like a Kael'thas Q on that mosh pit. You know, it doesn't feel like the impactful heroic that it should. I love the playmaking ability of Dragon's Arrow. Yeah, and I think his talent choices are actually quite dynamic. That's also what I love about him. You know, there's the contest between Q and W build, mixing in Redemption in there. His auto attack talent's at level 1. However, his heroic talents are just it's completely one-sided. But everything else, like I absolutely love Hanzo. Sorry, I'm just ranting here. I love this guy so much. But okay, moving into the competitive space, I think that he does have viability, but he needs some of those changes. I think he's really strong early game, and I know a lot of people would maybe disagree with me on this one, but I think he starts to fall off later. Especially, let's say you elect to go like Redemption at level 1, the auto attack talent. You get that stacked up. As soon as you start dying into the mid to late game, it is so difficult for Hanzo to get those consecutive auto attacks onto targets while still not dying again. Like, it's so tough for him. He's also playing into a meta right now that's seeing stealth changes, seeing the changes to Valera, seeing the changes to Nova, and and to Samuro and stuff like that. So these heroes have very easy access to Hanzo, and during the late game, he gets blown up like now. You know what I mean? So like he has that difficulty. Yeah. You know, he may be able to scout people out with his E, but it's not as powerful as you might think in a competitive or an organized environment. So I think Hanzo's fantastic. I think he has the damage numbers in order to be like a successful hero in competitive. He's got like his niche abilities, being able to do a lot of PvE damage, you know, on like BOE and stuff like that with his W build. I think he just needs a little bit of tweaking, or perhaps comps built around him in order to make him successful. But I do think we will see play.
I want to ask a specific question. Level 4, is there any situation where you wouldn't grab explosive arrows?
Yes.
Do you mean serrated arrows or explosive arrows?
It's serrated.
Serrated's the way to play?
Yeah, I think it's serrated.
Yeah.
I think explosive arrows is good on certain maps. It's good on Infernal Shrines because it works on the Skeletal Defenders. It's good on Brax's Holdout because it works on the Zerg waves. I think there's still a decent contest between explosive arrows and the serrated.
Okay. Serrated's obviously amazing with the boss clear. I've seen all those clips and stuff, but explosive seems like just such... We're talking about quick lane clear, quick, effective, efficient lane clear, and explosive is... some of the greatest you could ask for right at level 4 too. I almost feel I wish more heroes got similar talents that would empower them to be able to do that, because it feels super impactful in the rotations and everything for Hanzo right now.
Yeah, I agree with what Kala said, actually. I think explosive arrows is super underrated. like it's so much value in terms of wave clear, and even just fighting, like let's say on a shrine, on infernal shrines, like the amount of damage you can do with explosive arrows is like insane compared to what you can do if all of your Qs get blocked by these tiny monsters. So I think it's definitely underrated, but serrated arrows, in my opinion, is probably still the go-to on a lot of maps, just because of that merc potential and how strong mercenaries are right now.
Yeah.
That's a good point, that explosive arrows does not affect mercs, so minions and monsters only. Yeah, okay. The build, I mean, Baker, I actually finally tried the build you mentioned today. I was playing Hanzo for about 2 hours, and I was going for Redemption at level 1. And then once you get never outmatched at level 7 with Redemption, it's just ridiculous. Like, at that stage in the game, it's just actually insane. So, very, very fun style to play. Hanzo, like you mentioned, probably going to end up being viable, but vulnerable to that blow up. Goku, you excited to have Hanzos in your games or no? Do you think he's good for the game, or do you think he's just another annoying ranged assassin that's there?
I think he's good for the game, in all honesty, just having another range assassin. He's not particularly annoying just because, well, Cal said all the stealth changes, but I feel like if you do, like, I guess, even both for like Hero League and competitive, if you later pick him throughout the draft, I think he'll be perfect. He's perfectly viable.
That's very important, by the way, what Goku just said. He is not a hero you can pick up early. He really isn't. There's just way too many variables in the game that completely shut him down. And you don't even like sacrifice anything for your own team by picking those heroes that shut him down. So it's not like oh, you picked Hanzo, I'm going to pick X, and now my hero is directly involved with shutting you down. It's just like there's so many different heroes that can beat him up. So it's like it has to look good in order to play Hanzo. It really does. So yeah, picking him late is a very, very good thing to say here.
Talking about Dragon Strike, though, like, it's so bad. It's so bad.
It doesn't feel like, compared to his like Overwatch counterpart, where it's very quick and just a lot of damage. It's like it doesn't feel like at all how it should be.
And I think it's got a few issues personally. I honestly think the damage is fine if you get a full like Dragon Strike off, it almost 100 0 squishies, you know. There's a decent amount of tanks. Like, you can still auto-attack while it's happening. Like, I think the damage is absolutely fine. But just the delay between, like, okay, guys, I'm going to start casting this. Scream something in Japanese. Everybody on the map is like, oh, he's casting an ult. Let's all move out from the way he's facing. Then, like, the arrow starts, and then there's this huge delay while it travels. And then it creates a portal, and then there's another huge delay, and then the dragon comes out. The dragon moves at like 1 mile an hour. So like, if anybody's still in that, oh, I have no idea what they were doing, unless they're stunned.
No, you're right.
Plays, man. You have to cast Strike Marrow, and then Mosh has to be going off at the same time.
Literally just thinking that. You're totally right, man. It's not the damage. You're right. It is how long it takes for the damage to be there. I was playing Hanzo and ETC, exactly what Goku was just saying, with a friend of mine, and I lined it up. So I was like, okay, you slide, and I saw the slide coming. I saw that 3-man mosh, you guys. I saw it. It was coming, and I ulted the moment I saw the slide happen, and then I got like 3 ticks of my ult. It's like, okay, you have to be like, all right, the slide has to come now. Ryugo Wagateki wo kuro! And like shoot it out, and then the slide has to happen, and then the mosh pit in order for it to even like show up at the same time. So you're totally right. Absolutely right.
Sorry for the terrible sounds everyone on stream just heard as I was queuing up a video, and the video did not want to mute. But yeah, no, it definitely feels like that's a big part of the problem. You know, you don't blow the Horn of Gondor to warn your opponents that your volley of arrows is coming, right? You blow it to warn your team that it's coming, and it's a little bit slow on the startup. But I'm glad Hanzo seems to be at least decently received in the competitive scene. You know, we've had a few other heroes just, you know, Garrosh has obviously been changed. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Been in like very, very niche spots as well. I actually wanted to talk to you guys about Junkrat just because he's not somebody that we've talked about too much on this show. Where do you guys think Junkrat sits as a hero himself also? Goku, you're first.
I don't know. With the changes that were made, I think he's gotten a little bit weaker, in my opinion. He still has that really great poke, but now I don't know. I feel like he's slowly heading towards, I guess, niche, in my opinion. Just because what makes him still a fantastic hero is that displacement of what's it called? I'm trying to figure out what's it called. The W.
The concussion mine.
Yeah, concussion mine. That just makes him a very strong hero in general. But it's just, besides that, I don't feel like he's giving that much anymore.
His clear is pretty good though. That's another hero that has good clear.
Yeah, it's all right, but I don't know. There's still other like mages right now.
Yeah, it's not the snap clear. It might be decent.
He needs to stand in a lane to clear, which is okay, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's not the same as drafting wave clear, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I personally really like Junkrat. I do think that maybe his value lowered a little bit with these gameplay changes, and I also have to recognize the fact that I'm biased. You know, I come from a team with Cattle and Psalm. You know, they're the rat gods, so it's like, I have to kind of limit my opinion that way. But honestly, I really like the hero. I think he's hard to kill a lot of the time, and I think he brings a lot of good wave clear, a lot of good poke, and also zone control, which is very important. Saying the power of objectives right now. He's able to zone off the enemy team from objectives very well, or force them into really poor positions if they decide to contest something. So, and he can also mine the night camp and then blow the spell shield minion like back over the towers to remove the camp from, and even the wave at that point from having the spell shield. So like,
I never thought of it that way.
Yeah,
he's got that strength in him as well, which is something you don't really see in a lot of heroes. So like, I do think he's still good, but I'm with Goku in the fact that his value has certainly lowered.
I think when I look at Junkrat, I see like three things. I see like, if you leave him in a wave, he can clear it very quickly, but he needs to be alone. He has concussion mine, which is like huge utility, and then he has like really strong burst follow up with Riptire. And that's like the three tools he has. So he's like purely utility, purely a pick where you pick him to fill those niches and like nothing else. So I think he's interesting. I think he's actually in a good spot for the game. Like that's kind of exactly where I want him to be honest. And I think he's like, it's hard to put him in a tier because some games I actually feel like he's going to be like tier 1, tier 2, like really strong hero. But most of the time, he's probably like a tier 4.
Yeah.
Enough.
His trait's pretty blah. Death traits are not my favorite, but okay, fair enough. Thanks for the insight on Junkrat. You know, you mentioned one thing Junkrat excels at is zone control, and that's just about all we know about the next hero coming to the Nexus. It's a melee Firebat hero. They unveiled it on Twitter and on YouTube. I don't think there's even this video is even posted on their website. It is the holiday season, so a lot of people are off at work, but I wouldn't be surprised if some people that aren't like super plugged into the game hadn't seen this video yet. Jaina cosplayer sitting in the snow, building the snowman, and then a Firebat basically woos her with his flames.
One hot boy.
Maybe Firebat counters. Is that what they're just saying? That he hard counters Jaina?
He might.
So, fun story, by the way. The person playing Jaina in that video is, I think it's Kiki Day, who's a Heroes of the Storm, or not Heroes of the Storm, but Blizzard esports employee.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, cool story. Also, a cosplayer who's apparently quite good.
There you
go. Naturally, melee tank. If we had to guess, Bruiser or main tank? Bruiser, right? He's a Firebat. He shoots flames.
Because I don't know anything about Firebat lore. Aren't they supposed to be like very volatile and die really easily?
Well, they're just the frontline unit,
so
I wouldn't say they die super easily. They're just the first unit to die because that's their job. They're the tank of the Terran.
They have bombs? They have bombs on them or something? So if they die, they blow up? Okay, because I was reading somewhere people are like, yeah, Terran Marines want to stay the heck away from Firebats because they're the first ones to die and they blow up.
There's probably some nerdy like fantasy lore that's not actually a mechanic within the game. Right. They don't do splash damage.
StarCraft 1, the Firebats were literally, they had a Marine suit and they had this huge like fire tank on their back, and they'd run in and their death animation would be exploding.
But it wouldn't do splash damage to your
No, no, it wouldn't do splash damage, but it was just the animation was exploding, and they were actually quite squishy, and they were literally just Marines with a huge explosive backpack. Now, but this on screen right now is the StarCraft. Hey, Jake, you're muted. You might be off as well. I'm not sure.
Oh god. XSplit is literally the bane of my existence. It decided to crash and explode and then mute me in the process. So welcome back. We're talking about Firebat, and honestly, what we know is he's a StarCraft 2 hero that's gonna be a melee tank. We don't know if he's a bruiser or a main tank, but I think there was a Chinese article that stated that he is good at controlling space in the form of, my perception was like flame turrets or something. That is a thing in StarCraft 2 where Terran have literally a flame turret that comes up. So I'm kind of anticipating something like that, akin to a Tychus drill where he puts it down. I don't know if it's going to be an ultimate or more like a Junkrat trap where it's really small. You just kind of throw it down and it sits there and it like does damage or just dissuades the enemy team from passing through. Maybe it has a slow applied to it or something. But I don't know. I'm pretty happy to see that we're getting I think this is the first StarCraft tank that's, well, Artanis is technically a tank, but
I think the only lore we have so far is, I quote, Blaze is a dual incinerator cannon-wielding warrior who excels at area of effect damage and locking down an area of the battlefield. Get ready to fire it up. So yeah, that's pretty much exactly what you said.
I guess the first person that comes to mind that's, I guess, sort of similar to that in certain aspects is like Arthas, in a way where you can like lock down a person and have that kind of control. Just like if he gets on top of you, it's really hard to get him off of you. Now, that being said, if he has some sort of mobility, I think with that idea and some sort of a mobility on the hero itself, I think it can be very good. It sounds like a very strong combination.
Okay, so check this out. I was talking with some friends over ramen today, and I was discussing what I would like to see out of this hero. I want to see some sort of anti-mobility mechanic. So something that you can like put on an enemy hero that dissuades them from using hypermobility, i.e. like you would use an ability on somebody and maybe it's like a DOT, and as they move, maybe not further away, but just move in general, the DOT gains in severity. Something that, yeah, so like, you know, if like using like a Lucio comp or something like that, he'd be really good into those heroes. Because when it says locking down an area of the battlefield, like, yeah, what does that mean? Like, yeah, that's kind of what got me thinking about it. And I think that'd be really cool if you could do something like that, because it would kind of be like a little bit of an answer to hypermobility creep in Heroes of the Storm. And yeah, I don't know, I just thought it would be a cool idea. I'm no hero designer, but
yeah, I
hope it's a big area, not like a small tiny like choke that he can control, but that's my hope.
I could see that being ultimate. So think something like huge ultimate burns everyone. Like if they're moving, they take a dot. If they stand still, they don't take any damage. Like that might be absolute murder for low level players.
Yeah.
But if not, I think that'd be a really cool mechanic.
While
we're talking about hyper mobility and counters to that, I just want to really quickly come out and say that stuns are not a hyper mobility counter, because they probably counter stuff like Kel'Thas and Raynor and immobile heroes much more than they counter Genji.
Yeah. Oh, 100% with you. Yep.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And you know, the Overwatch hero creep, like you guys said, all these like super fast, the Tracers, the Genjis and stuff, it's just there's no good response to that because they're not part of the MOBA norm as to like what you expect in the kit. They just have insane options when it comes to that mobility. And yeah, I never even perceived him as an option for a response to that. But it'll be cool to see what he is. I don't think it'll take Blizzard more than another. I mean, I think probably the week of the 7th is when we should get him on the PTR, if I had to guess. Just based on timing. So another long week of waiting to actually get our hands on him. But could be a bruiser, could be a main tank, regardless. I mean, someone in chat just meant, as Mora said, maybe he can light bushes on fire and make them like bad to pass through or something. Like that would be cool.
Wait, that's cool. So sick. And then how would he? I guess he could light smoke on fire too, or something. Like that. I don't know. They'll figure. It's the Nexus, you guys. Anything can happen.
That'd be neat.
Wait, that's such a good idea. Who's this guy? He's hired.
I just feel like if anything, he's gonna be that middle. He's not gonna be like a main tank, or he's not gonna be like a hard bruiser like Sonya. He's just gonna be where like, you know, Tyrael, Arthas, Dahaka. Not much damage, but bringing enough control.
And who knows? Maybe he'll have some kind of like flame launch for it or something for an engage, like some kind of like leaving a flame trail or something. Maybe all of those flames slow you when you touch them. There's definitely a lot of different ways this hero could go. And technically, if we're looking at StarCraft 2, they say he's a Firebat and he's not a Hellbat. Hellbats turn into Hellions. They're technically mechanical units, so I don't think he'll be able to turn into a Hellion. But who knows? They could definitely give him like the Hellbat skin and then have the Hellion mount. Maybe that'll be his legendary skin or something, and it's a little bit different where it transforms. But he'll be cool. We'll definitely touch up on him more once he's actually out and we actually know anything about him. But yeah, that's Blaze the Firebat coming soon. We are, you know, we just disconnected and crashed and had a terrible explosion on the stream, but we're actually going to go ahead and take a short break. When we return, we're going to be going in onto the new patch notes for Heroes of the Storm, talking about HGC 2018 and viewer questions and more. So stay tuned, guys. We'll be back in just a few moments. This episode of Town Hall Heroes is brought to you by you, the viewers. Thank you so much for supporting us on patreon.com/townhallheroes. Hey guys, welcome back and welcome to the Twitch dashboard. What a wondrous thing to look at. We were talking about pretty much Blaze, Hanzo, Junkrat, 2018 update, and a little bit about Goku and Kala. And we're moving forward to talk about HGC 2018, the patch notes that hit on December 20th. But before we get to those things, I wanted to discuss the what would we call this? Placement apocalypse, I think chat called it there. It was definitely an unexpected explosion of play 10 games, play 10 games, play 10 games, play 10 games at the start of the season, and performance-based matchmaking has actually been revoked from the game, even though Blizzard said it is not the culprit of the issue. They said just because things have been so wonky, we're going to take it out to be safe. I had fun with it personally. Bakery, what did you think of Placement Apocalypse?
It's not a good look. Not a good look for the game, definitely. I didn't mind it too much. I played 10 placements. I actually climbed to 2k points like instantly. I won like 4 games in a row. I was like, yeah, let's go, you know. And then I played my second set of placements. It didn't go so well. So, you know, slightly miffed about that. I'm still not 2k points, by the way, in this season. I'll get there eventually. But overall, I think they probably made the right decisions. So, like, stuff's broken. They think they have a fix, so they reset people. It wasn't fixed. They didn't reset everyone that should have been and accidentally reset some people that shouldn't have been. So they're like, all right, let's try again. Reset everyone. That time it was actually fixed, but there's still definitely issues with people who are gold/platinum actually making it to master. A lot less common, but still definitely present. So don't think they're resetting again. Before we go any further, it is worth to note, on the original patch notes where they introduced this patch, they were very clear and they said, everyone get ready, because when this patch comes out, we are launching into 2018 Season 1. Like now, it's called 2017 Season 4. So they changed the name for some reason.
Yeah. So there was actually a comment on Reddit basically saying the same thing and asking if they think it'll be an extra short season. Maybe mid-January they start a new season with performance-based matchmaking. I don't know. It's definitely a possibility they do that. But would you guys say things are back to normal now, or? does it still seem weird to you? Because to me, my games seem like the normal Hero League experience. Plenty of dumb drafts, but not necessarily crazy variance in like past season from players in my games.
I've personally only played maybe like 15 games.
Oh, okay.
And it seemed kind of normal to me. But yeah, I don't think that's a large enough sample size. Also, I probably just got lucky. And I was playing on my tournament account, so like where I am in general is not accurate. So I'm not too sure. But from the consensus I've heard from my Discord channel and just my friends and stuff like that, it still seems a little bit wonky.
That's what chat's saying right now too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with Kala. I didn't play much, and I wasn't there for the whole, I guess, like placement reset, because I think during that time we were, I think it might have been China, I'm not sure, but yeah, that's also from what I heard, just a little bit clunky.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of, at least in Europe, I can't speak about America, I haven't actually seen many people that play an NA server complaining about this, but on EU, we are consistently seeing people that are in plat still in our games. The higher ranked you are, the more points you have. If you're like top 50 GM, it seems that it's about 50% people that were in plat, 50% people that are actually master/grandmaster. So it seems really bad at the upper echelons of play. From my personal experience, very few exceptions. One or two every other game, in my experience.
Wow. Even now, from the recent...
Jeez. Wow.
Yeah. That's tough. Like you said, not a good look. And obviously these people that have now landed in Master and have been told that it's correct feel that they belong there. So I mean, at the end of the day, it still sounds like somebody's going to get burned. Not a good look. Good way to put it, Bakery. Not a good look for the game right now. But things happen. Hopefully things do normalize over time with all of that. Who expected this patch to come out on the 20th? Because to me, I thought for sure we were done for the year.
I'm just looking at the patch a bit, but I guess it's just a little bit to tune some heroes where some heroes weren't feeling that impactful. I don't think it was I don't think it made a major change, but maybe I'm incorrect about that. But
the Garrosh one, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, the Garrosh one, I think that was a little bit weird, but besides that, everybody else was slightly tuned.
A little bit weird, like you didn't expect that?
Yeah, because it's just like, why? I don't think Garrosh was a huge problem. I guess he was a huge problem for the lower, I guess, ranked play, but
I mean, even in Diamond, he is always banned. Like
true,
like always banned.
But
and it's just
like,
because people just don't want to learn how to play against him because he feels so punishing. If you step out of line at all, it's a lot easier to dodge a hook. It's a lot easier to dodge a Haka drag. Garrosh, like you mess up, and it's just like get wrecked, you lose. You know.
Well, so here's the interesting thing: is the best data we have from the various replay uploading sites indicated that Garrosh had something like an 80% ban rate across all levels of play. He was banned almost every game. Yeah. I think it was up in like 95% or something in Master and Diamond.
But a terrible win rate, right?
A terrible win rate in everything except Master. In Master, he was in the top 5 like best heroes in the game, and obviously there are some weird heroes like Azmodan's usually up there, Probius usually up there in terms of top win rates, but Garrosh was the highest of any normal hero that was actually played like a decent amount in Master, and in the other leagues he had an abysmal win rate. It was like 40% maybe. So
yeah, very strange. You think that they'd save, if anything, these changes for like the 2018 season, but I guess that kind of fell through for what happened with all the all the resets.
And I just don't think that it was necessary. I really don't. Yes, he did see like an insane amount of bans, but I think, as it was just mentioned before, I think that was mainly because people just didn't want to play against that playstyle. They didn't want to join a Hero League game and be like, oh, okay, I have to not get queued and E'd by Garrosh. Like, they didn't want to have to play into that. And I actually just don't think that alone is enough of a reason to ban a hero that much, or sorry, to nerf a hero that much. Like, they completely changed the way his kit works. like with his Q, it's huge. It really is. Like his combo, was QE and R once you got it, and now like you have to try to Indomitable walk up to them, E them over top of you, and then like Q them once they're back into your team and stuff like that. So like that's a huge change for a hero, and I just don't think that the statistics that Bakery was going over warranted that drastic of a change for that hero.
I actually disagree. I actually really enjoy these changes. The obvious negative is that he is undertuned, which is like what Goku was saying. I would have much rather have seen this change come in earlier or indeed later, where we could have a quick follow-up of the week after or 2 weeks after. Let's buff him because it's now become apparent that he is a weaker hero. So yeah, to leave him in this state for a long time while everyone's on Christmas break, everyone's just chilling, and even when they get back, they need to test it and work through it. So it is a bit weird for him to be so weak for so long, but I think his kit had to change. And we only have one ban in Heroes of the Storm, so it's just annoying for everyone to play against him. It's annoying for everyone to ban him. He's never going to get played in competitive with that kit.
Yeah.
Or at least very rarely, just because he doesn't work as a hero. He's not a main tank. He doesn't do enough damage to be a bruiser. Like, I just think he was a very badly designed hero. So I really do appreciate that they changed him design-wise, and not because he was too strong or too weak, just because they wanted to make a better game that was more fun.
I'd love to see them experiment with his level 1 or something to like really drastically change his Q. Maybe make it so his Q is like incredible wave clear, but no CC at all. Maybe make it so his Q is maybe not the pull. Maybe they never bring the pull back, but give it a bigger knock up. So it's more like an actual effective stun that you can follow up with for like a lunar flare. So theoretically, he's got a 6-second, effective stun that's useful in his kit. I think there's some cool things that could do with him because, like you said, he doesn't have the lane clear and the self-sustain needed to really feel effective in kind of like a bruiser role, and he's not a good main tank either. So he's just kind of there, right? Before he was useful for the niche picks. But I think there's some experimenting they could do to make him more interesting. And I kind of wish more heroes were flexible in that regard too, right? Where you could actually get meaningful talents that give them a different impact in different ways. But is he dead for competitive? Would you say he's donezo in pro play?
A lot of people do think he is dead. I personally don't. I don't think so. I think that the health offset that he received in conjunction with his nerfs, I think it was enough to just keep him in the game. And I just think it's a matter of, again, going back to what we were talking about, people kind of relearning the meta. I think it's everybody just relearning both A, how to play Garrosh, and B, how to play with Garrosh and when to pick Garrosh. Because it is completely different. He just feels like a different hero now. So
I think he was like a hero before you could just value just to work off that niche combo. But right now, I think he's fallen off definitely a bit. I definitely would value certain other heroes than him, I guess, at face value. Like, for example, I guess I would value probably more of a Stitches, because at least he would bring in more wave clear. Yep. While before, like, Garrosh used to have that chance where he can just Q you, E you over, and you have to react instantly. But now it's like, I can just opt into, a hero that does both pretty much, but is more reliant, I guess, on the Q.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. All right. Well, the Diva changed on her mech. They actually gave the mech some damage, so she actually can feel like a decent bruiser. I think Diva's been a pretty unpopular pick for the most part, and her mech's always felt really weak. I have not played her since these changes have been made. Goku, do you have any thoughts on the Diva buffs? Have you experienced it at all yet?
I haven't really experienced much of Diva, but from what I heard, she feels a little bit better right now. I think more wave clear and more damage. So
I think she feels a lot better because 3 damage looks like nothing, right? But because she only had 21 damage to begin with, it's actually like, wait, what is it? It's like a 16% buff or like 14% buff or something like that. So it's actually significant. But the main thing is that she hits the whole minion wave. So this makes her wave clear so much faster, because now she stands in the minion wave, gets them all low, and then finishes with Q. So it makes her feel a whole lot better. It makes her a much better laner. In my opinion, she's currently a Dehaka counter. People don't really realize this, but if you play D.Va against Dehaka, she absolutely destroys him. He can never get a dig off. He can never outpush her, because every time Dehaka walks into wave, D.Va waits for Dehaka to press W and then puts her W on him. He does nothing to the wave. She then clears it. She has the freedom to roam with her Q. She can stick around and push the wave into towers. She can stick around and control the shrine. So she absolutely destroys Dehaka in lane right now.
I think, yeah, with that damage buff, she's definitely buffed. But I don't know if this was changed, but if I'm correct, if Dehaka E's and then W's, that's the reduced damage goes away, if I'm correct.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it does.
But with this buff change to her autoing, she's certainly going to clear way faster than Dehaka does now.
So that's one small change to D.Va, maybe making her a little bit more valuable in the solo lane versus category. Obviously something that is healthy, since that's becoming more and more sought after. We were talking about that earlier today. Artanis, I mean, a little bit of love there as well. Are these big changes, or?
I think it's enough to, just start warranting a few more picks of Artanis. He sits in a pretty niche position as it is in the draft in a competitive sense. In Hero League, why not pick an Artanis? I mean, it's a completely different game, right? So just seeing those raw number increases, I think that's a great thing for Artanis, and we will be seeing some more of him in Hero League. And yeah, perhaps even warrant a pick or two of him in the competitive scene.
The interesting thing is when Phase Bulwark, the spell shield equivalent on level 13, was 50% before, it was actually like a really broken talent. It's basically if Artanis got to level 16 with that comboed with the other shield buffing talent, then he had something like a 70% win rate in Hero League.
I remember
but
that.
he still had a really low win rate overall because he'd lose his team the game before then. But the fact he's back up to 50% could be pretty impactful.
I've helped that happen with you before, Bakery. Lose the game with Artanis before 16.
I remember that.
I think across all boards, I think most of the time people would have picked Triple Strike, if I'm correct. Or go with the niche pick. What was it? I can't remember what it's called. It's the other E-Town that you swap two people instead.
Graviton Vortex.
Yeah. With Phase Bulwark, I don't know about Templar Zeal as much, but with Phase Bulwark, it definitely warrants. You can definitely pick it.
Small change to Stukov on the mana retention, amp it up. Nerf on Lucio. Lucio's probably one of the best performing supports right now, so they're just trying to bring his healing down a little bit.
I feel like the personally for me, I guess against Lucio, I don't think the healing is an issue. I just feel like it's the movement speed right now.
Yeah, me too.
That's an issue, especially just for him when he wall rides. It's extremely annoying trying to hold him down, but he's like, I don't know, probably the safest support, most offensive safe support there is right now.
His Q is just so powerful. It really is. It's an answer to so many different abilities. Like, he completely shuts down a lot of warriors, shuts down ETC. Now Garrosh just does. Yeah, Garrosh does not stand a chance if he did before. Like, he's just such a powerful hero. He really is.
Yeah, it's a tough thing to figure out, I think, because he's got so many talents based around his wall ride. That's his trait, right? And you're pretty much always wall riding. There's so many different benefits to be had from it, and they can't change that without reworking the full hero. Honestly, I don't think that's an easy task for them to do. I don't know if they can just reduce his health further. Would that even be meaningful? Maybe, but
yeah, maybe.
Okay. We also got some Lily changes. I do not play Lily, but I remember somebody saying that we talked about this a little bit on Town Holiday last week, right? I don't really remember that night very much, Bakery, but was it you that said Lily is now like god tier support, like number 1, number 2?
Oh, I said she's the best performing support, but I have no idea why. Like, I actually tried playing her because I saw that stat. I was like, damn, I must be missing something. I wasn't missing anything. The hero sucks. I think it's just weird. I don't know why.
before these changes, I did feel like Lily did have like she brought that blind in like before the whole like rework to her.
Yeah.
That blind was definitely impactful into certain compositions, but then when she got reworked, it felt like she was useless. So right now, I don't know. It looks like it could help her, but maybe it's not there yet.
I'm pretty much in the same boat. I don't know if she's just quite there yet. I think the changes to Brightwing and Alexstrasza are probably more impactful from a support perspective.
We talked about these a little bit last week, but obviously, if you don't want to watch 4 drunken guys or 5 drunk guys talk about heroes, then don't watch that VOD. Yeah, I mean, Alexstrasza, these are nerfs though, right? She lost value on her best assets essentially, and she's kind of bad without those assets. So that's tough.
I don't understand the damage nerf on Cleansing Flame. It already felt so bad to try and finish someone with a Cleansing Flame. It felt like you were tickling them, and then they nerfed it more. I'm like,
It's like, it may seem bad, but like in clustered circumstances where you're healing a massive amount, like say that's 2 of your heroes and 2 enemy heroes just all fighting in one area, and you're actually managing to hit all of those, the difference in health off of one of your ults is so huge because you're increasing the health of your allies by, you know, whatever it was, let's say 150 on both, and then reducing the health of your enemies.
300 on allies, 150 on enemies. But yeah, I would have liked to see the heal reduced because the heal was insane.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. There you go. But that would be, you said 300 for allies?
Yeah.
So that's a 450 health difference across both. So that's one ult results in 900 health difference between your 2 teams, which is, I think, massive. Like I think the
5 times.
Yeah, exactly. And that's only one time. Yeah. So it can be huge.
That's nuts. What do you guys think about Alexstrasza in competitive anyways? Is she being played at all? I was like, well, I don't want to give my strats away.
Sure what you say this.
Give her a rating as a hero 1 through 10.
I don't know, solid 7.
I was gonna say 7 too, between 7 and 8.
That's higher than I expected, to be honest.
That's a lot higher than I expected.
Yeah, she's a niche pick.
Yeah, she's just good in situations, if anything. Like she can be valued more later on, if anything, later in the draft.
I think again, yeah, you're right. The thing is like she has an ability in her kit that means like you can't fight into it. Yeah, so if you want something on the map, you get it. Like you pop. Exactly. Yeah, it's just like that. So that alone is what puts her into the game. So like when you see nerfs like the Dragon Queen duration reduced with a Draconic Discipline at 16, that was one of her like go-to talents. When you see stuff like that reduced, that's her main strength as a hero. So yeah. But yeah, you can never ignore the fact that she basically provides a free objective every 120 seconds.
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
So down to Brightwing, do you guys think the polymorph change is attempting to create more reliable counters towards those hypermobile heroes? Because Poly is one of those responses to the Tracer, to the the Illidan, the Genji, that is actually quite reliable since the point-click CC.
And ranged.
And ranged.
It is, but at the same time, within the meta right now, currently, what I meant is more of the changes that were made with like the camps and the minion waves and the towers. It's still very hard to value Brightwing, in my opinion. I do think there are some maps you can work with her, but it's like she's slowly, in my opinion, is heading towards that like niche role. She's still pickable, but it's like, would you really want to value that compared to like, I don't know, a bruiser or someone that can push the top lane into her with a camp?
Yeah,
I was actually talking about this on my stream. Is that like Brightwing just doesn't work as a solo healer anymore? Like when Brightwing worked as a solo healer, it was because you could play her as a laner against Volstad and against Dehaka. Well, since she got changed to have Spell Shield on E, Dehaka got a race car talent. And Volstad just disappeared. So she can't actually lane against anyone right now. Because she lost that block, Dehaka just destroys her. Any hero that goes against her just destroys her. And she doesn't wave clear fast enough. Like,
her wave clear
since the wave clear changes. So you can't justify picking her as a second support. And she's doesn't do enough healing to work as like a solo support. So there's just not really a place for her right now, in my opinion.
I mean, I'd imagine in competitive, it's pretty much phase shift build too, if she's ever played at all.
Yeah.
So you can't pick cleanse on her either. There's a lot of drawbacks to like where Brightwing once existed and was once interesting. She just doesn't really excel at anything except she is a support with global. That's literally the only thing she has. Sad. She's
you know, she brings obviously Emerald Wind, which is fantastic for controlling points, but I just feel like there's just better options for that exact same situation now.
Yeah.
Why would you Brightwing over Stukov? Like, nope, probably not.
Yeah, exactly. You were mentioning it earlier in the show, Goku, that you know, Brightwing, she can't deal with a hard camp by herself, right? So like maybe if you saw some sort of PvE increase on her kit, then she would start to see more viability. Like that's one option, or obviously you just change her healing numbers and stuff like that. But as it sits, I'm with you guys. I just don't see her as strong as she was before.
They just took clear away from supports, but do you make an exception for Brightwing and make that her thing? Make it so that she is the global that has clear, give her the ability to have wave clear or something. Maybe her flare has a talent.
I think she needs to hit like a middle point. If she has too much, then I think she might be too viable, because then then she would be better than most bruisers, like with decent wave clear, which I think would be irritating because she would also have a global on top of that. But if there's like a middle point where she can clear maybe as fast as I would say Dahaka, because Dahaka doesn't really clear that fast, but he can clear over time. If Brightwing can do that, I think it would be better.
I don't think she needs more damage in wave clear. I just think she needs the ability to actually stand up and actually auto attack. So I don't know if you want to give her autos against polymorphed heroes more damage or something like that, or just some way to incentivize her as something where you can actually 1v1. And that would allow her to stand up like against the Sonya, possibly poke around against like ranged heroes, against Malthal. And if she can hit the wave, and if she can hit Qs, then she wave clears really fine. But she just can't stand up at all right now.
So there's no patch notes for Malfurion, but we actually haven't talked about Malfurion since he got his changes. They took away Moonburn. They gave him this new talent called Celestial Alignment. And ever since then, Malf is one of my... I've been playing a ton of Malf and a ton of Sonya in Hero League. And Malf just feels like an absolute god compared to every other support in the game, because with Celestial and Hindering Moonfire, you can actually do good damage as a support from a safe range point of view, and have the root CC. And then Twilight Dream is obviously amazing, and of course mages are being played more, so Innervate is going to do really well with so many different heroes. Is Malf the god support now, or what?
I don't know if he's the god support, but I personally like the changes made to Malfurion. I have a lot of people coming into my stream and my Discord saying how much they like Malf and how strong he is in Hero League and stuff like that. So like everybody absolutely loves him. From a competitive standpoint, like I don't know if that is enough to really like change the value of Malfurion. But yeah, from a Hero League standpoint, I think he's actually really, really strong.
Yeah, I agree with Kala there. If anything, is what I like is what they've been doing, because I remember they had this idea with Monk where they wanted to have like a damage build and like kind of a support build, and they did same thing with Malfurion, and I think that's a perfect addition to the hero in my opinion.
Boomkin build. Lucio's the true god support. What am I thinking? All right, well, we talked about the warriors. We talked about the assassins pretty much last week.
We still have Thor to talk about, and Nazeeba.
Okay. So Thrall is just like some number tweaks on his auto attack. Naturally, we've talked a lot about just kind of the solo lane and the lack, like, you know, I even mentioned earlier, maybe Thrall could end up getting in that spot. He's not there yet, is he?
In my opinion, he won't be there, just because right now...
well, if they give him 3 stacks of Chain Lightning baseline so he can cast it 3 times, he'd be there.
It's just one of the main issues is that he can't bully, because the other bullies are just way better than him. At the same time, he doesn't have enough. Well, no, he does have decent sustain, but he doesn't have that wave clear.
Yeah.
And wave clear is just gonna make him obsolete every time. I feel like if any, like personally, just because I love Thrall, I wish they just changed the Sunder timer, because I feel like 1 second is way too little.
Is it?
For the stun? You want like a 2-second stun and sundering?
No.
Whoa, not tease it. Slow down.
No, I wanted to go back to that like middle, well not middle level, but like quarter level, where it was like 1.25, because it did feel decent, and you had enough time where your team could follow up. Right now with Sunder, your team can't follow up. If you make that 1.5, it's a little too OP, because if you do hit like a huge Sunder, you basically win the fight. But 1.25, that middle, I think is just perfect for him.
I think that's absolutely true.
1.25 allows you to follow if you're quick and you were like already there and like in position. And if they got hit by a Sunder when your entire team was in position, they deserve to lose the fight, in my opinion. So I think 1.25 is like a healthy spot for it to be in, and it's a lot more fun to play with it like that.
I have the exact same opinion on that ability. Like, you land it and then you just can't do, like, it just doesn't give you enough time to do anything off of it. So if that got changed, like, it would be a huge playmaking heroic, and I think you'd start to see a lot more play again.
Let's say Thrall is supposed to be a solo in an early game. You want to draft him so that he can go in the jungle. You want to draft him so that you have a good melee in the team fight. Right now, he's not really excelling in either of those. Given the 1.25 on Sundering, if he had like a level 4 talent, let's just call it Hungry Wolfos, and it does 100% additional damage with your wolf to minions and mercs, is Thrall then a hero that's going to contest the Sonya, the Dahaka, and that sort of hero?
He would probably contest Dahaka, but he won't contest Sonya, just because Sonya right now, basically, I guess the biggest counter towards Thrall would be just the block talent. That block talent pretty much nulls Thrall. But into I guess the bigger bruisers, like if anything like Tyrael and like Dahaka, he would have actually a better matchup.
Well, fingers crossed. I love Thrall. I want to see him viable. I want to pick him in my Hero League games, but I don't advise it right now. I don't think these guys would advise it either in a lot of matchups.
I love Thrall, so I hope they just continue to look at Thrall and make some decisions to bring him back into the game, okay? I love him.
In Quick Match, when I played against Thrall, he had top damage in every single game. When I played against him in Hero League, he lost every single game. So he might be pretty good if the enemy doesn't know how to play against him now, but I don't think these changes do anything for him in competitive. To sum them up.
Yeah, it's like what can I compare it to? I guess kind of right now like Nova. Nova's just extremely strong with her how much damage she outputs. But that's if you leave her alone.
What a good segue. What a good segue, Goku.
Professional.
I mean, Nova got some nerfs. I think that's something that Dunk and Bakery echoed last week, is that Nova just feels like she can not only pump out stupid numbers, but she can get away from, you know, it's way too many situations with her stealth and, you know, movement speed and stealth. And do you agree, Goku?
Just from what I've experienced so far, just like she just, I don't know, she does an absurd amount of damage. Like, you don't even expect it when you like, oh, I can beat her, and then you just go down to 10% HP and you're like, how did this happen? Like, it's very scary, the changes that they made to her. I feel like she can be viable, maybe.
Should they put RNG on her Q to randomly do crits just to nerf her? That is not a serious question for anyone that's listening. That would never be a good thing. But Kyle, how do you feel about Nova?
About Nova, I think she's really, really good. I think she's very hard to punish. She has multiple escape options. Like her one active at level 1, like baseline is so powerful. It's basically a get out of jail free card. And then, you know, the build I like to go, you have so much backline pressure that Nova doesn't even have to put herself in a bad position in order to get it. Because previously it was like you needed to make sure that you're in range to snipe people in order to gain the burst that would make Nova effective. Now you don't have to do that at all. And yeah, there's just very little punish for her. And I just, think she's super strong. And okay, call me crazy, but her wave clear isn't even that bad, okay? So like, the fact that your Q only goes down to 0 stacks when you miss completely, you can Q waves like over and over. And I know it's not insane, but that's still like quite a bit of damage. And then, you know, it allows Nova to just like show up in a lane, just like auto Q the middle minion, grab a globe, and just continue on her merry way. Like she's really good.
Lastly, we got Nazebo. You know, it's been a week. Do you guys think he feels like less of a late game carry, a little bit more balanced throughout the game, or is he still the same?
I think Nazebo got wrecked by the gameplay update.
Oh yeah,
because
absolutely gutted.
games just don't go to 20 right now.
That's true.
And like in addition to that, even if it does get to 20, he's now significantly weaker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like Nazebo was drafted specifically for a purpose. Like even in Hero League, people know this. You get into a Hero League game with Nazebo, it's like, okay, you guys get to level 20, we win. Yeah. So the fact that that got nerfed so heavily means like his main purpose was basically just like nerfed. So I think he's way weaker now.
Yeah.
So stop drafting him in all my games. God, I'm sick of losing. Yeah, no, it's interesting, you know, seeing that shift, and obviously with the games feeling more snowbally, late games less likely to happen. The close games I have is probably 20%. I'd say 80% of my games feel like they're one-sided, decisive winner, decisive loss in Hero League, and that's something that I think Blizzard will address. It's a huge change they've made to the game. You know, we talked about the 2018 update earlier in the show. If you missed it, check it out. But yeah, there's a lot of tuning that is to come, I would imagine. We now have our final topic of HGC 2018 and kind of the schedule for next year. But while we have a guest from Tempo and a guest from Roll20, if you guys had to rate the power level of your team and your expectations for going into the season right now, even though we're in the off season, where do you put yourself, Kala?
Number 1.
Like not even close? Where's number
Nope.
2? How close is number 2?
I think number 2 is going to be okay. I think number 2 is going to be Roll20. I think number 3 is going to be Team Freedom.
Damn, so PR heavy. He's got Roll20 guy with him. He says they're going to be number 2.
No, I'm very honest. You know, Goku is a friend of mine, and I'm not just doing it to save face. I'm just saying I actually think that's where it is. I think that my team has the potential and the individual skill to be number 1 in my region.
Goku.
I don't know. It's kind of hard to say right now. Not just based on my team, just based on how the meta is going to be. Right now, it's kind of a coin toss for everybody, but I do think we have that potential to stay number 1. But that's not our goal in the end. We want to perform better in international. I felt like we didn't do justice coming into China, and I believe we're a lot stronger than what we showed in China. I do think, if anything, it's definitely, in my opinion, it would be a close tie with Tempo Storm and even Team Freedom.
You know,
to mirror that, I actually think that that's very true as well. I think that the top 3 are very close to each other.
Oh,
so, Gale Force, not too special?
I think it's just like right now, there's a small, I guess, difference right now. It's not a huge gap, but there is a gap that they need to close out right now, if anything.
Okay, and Old Gods?
Yeah, even them.
Yeah. A lot of the other teams, I think that they're experiencing a lot more than just like team changes. Like, for example, I believe on Gale Force, Fury is doing a lot of their shot calling, something he's never done before. So like that is going to take time. Not saying he's bad at it, because he's not. He's a very smart player, very good player, Fury is. So, but it will take time to get into that sort of, you know, groove of being able to shot call through games.
I think a big thing that's very often underrated as well is that even once he becomes like a good shot caller in scrims, being a good shot caller in scrims versus being a shot caller in an actual tournament game is also a very different experience. So,
and then on top of that, like the difference of even being just on the online tournament than being in a LAN situation.
Yeah, definitely.
It's completely different.
It's a different beast. So. Yeah, it definitely is. So I want to talk about all the teams in NA for a little bit, but before we do that, I mean, Roll20, you mentioned that you guys didn't have the showing you wanted in China. Like, was that your first time going to China? What was the overall experience for you, Goku? Like, were you guys jet lagged? Did you guys think you played under your standards, or what?
I think it's a little bit of everything. Jet lag did affect us for, like, I would say, if anything, the first week, in my opinion, or like it slowly crept up to us. Like when we first initially came to China, we were like fine, everything was normal. But after a couple of days within being in China, it started to hit us like every day. But at the same time, just the way we played, it looked like when we're in solos, we looked fine. We were like, all right, it wasn't that bad. But once it came to the team fighting, I felt like we just performed very sloppily. We've obviously been working on that. So
yeah, something was just off sync.
Yeah, just basically we weren't all on the same page, if anything.
So while we're talking about Roll20, there is something I want to ask Goku actually. I don't remember exactly when. I think it was around mid 2016. But if I remember correctly, you were on team name change. I think you guys ended up as
yeah,
with Buds and Justin, right?
Yeah,
yes,
and the regionals.
So how has that dynamic changed? Going from like that team to joining Roll20 earlier this year.
I think back then, I feel like we were all significantly weaker like than we are right now. Like just like player by player, and like even back then, Justin was shot calling. And I don't think we just had that experience yet.
Yeah.
So for a amount of like a span of year, and it's funny seeing coming back to them in Roll20. I feel like they're just entirely different players where like they just understand like what they need to do, what like they know what they have to do. And it's definitely a different feeling, but at the same time, it's also comfortable for me just because like I was with them before.
Nice.
Yeah, no, that's cool to hear that you guys are evolving on that, you know, even in different paths that brought you there. But looking at North America, it's definitely going to be a different season. 2 new teams in the mix, and honestly, more than that, when you consider that Old Gods is definitely a very different squad. A lot of these squads have changed. This might be the biggest shift we've ever had in North American Heroes esports, right? So you guys are both confident that you're in the top 3. You guys think the top 3 overall is pretty even. Michael Udall confirmed in chat that actually Fury is doing the drafting, but Michael Udall is doing the shot calling. So that is good intel for the team, or just to know in general. Old Gods, you said they're still a ways away. Zuna back on the hyper carry. I mean, obviously it's an interesting team. K1 Pro now playing support. That's going to be a big change, I think, for what we know from K1 Pro. King Caffeine on tank, obviously we're familiar with that, but playing with Zuna, there's some, I mean, then we've got Hosty and Urho. It's definitely a cool squad, but obviously they could be top 3, they could be bottom 3. That's kind of the way that I look at that team, right? They have the potential to be the absolute best or the absolute worst. Just like Neventix started out the year looking like they could be top 3. Well, they ended bottom all season long, basically. LFM and Heroes Hearth. Have you guys got to experience them at all? Do you have any impressions? I think Heroes Hearth, a lot of people have expectations for. How does Heroes Hearth feel, Kala?
I think that they definitely have potential. I like the fact that Cawthon Luck, my old teammate, has joined them as a coach. I definitely think they have potential. That's pretty much like all I can say about them. I think that they're kind of middle of the pack right now. But I do think that if they work hard enough and they have the right type of practice environment and the right focus, I think they can raise that standing in probably a pretty short amount of time.
Do you agree? Go ahead. Agree.
I think for me, the interesting thing about Heroes Hearth is that like they had so much time to build synergy while in Open Division that this isn't actually a new team. And from what I understand, they had like consistent practice against HCC teams while they were playing in Open Division. 3 of their players have played professional before. 2 of their players have spent a year in Open Division. So they are fairly experienced as a team, and they've been together for the full 6 months, at least. So it's going to be interesting to see how much they can improve rapidly upon entering HCC, and how much they already improved and they're already towards the top of their skill cap, or at least their skill cap for now. That's definitely interesting to me. But Old Gods, super interesting. Space Station and Gale Force, of course, going to be interesting as well. Space Station being on Geostrity is one of the bigger stories.
Yeah.
Not too many people looking at LFM, but they're not people you can sleep on either. They're a pretty competent team.
I think I'm most excited about Space Station and Old Gods. I think that they have good, like really solid people on their teams. And like I said about Heroes Hearth, if they just have the right type of practice and the right focus, I think that they could be really strong teams. And what I want out of North America, because like all of these teams, objectively, they look like they could be pretty strong, right? But what I want is just for everyone to take this so dang seriously and just make NA a really good region. So like Goku was saying, even the top teams, they can come out of North America and go to international tournaments and actually start performing well. That's what I want.
That's all I've wanted for 2 years now.
I mean, that's why I got into my job,
Yeah.
because I'm trying to create team cultures and environments so that people do take this more seriously. And I think it's actually had a positive effect, and it'll continue to have a positive effect. And I know this is cheesy, but I feel like this is the year where NA is actually going to show up at international tournaments. Like we did pretty well at BlizzCon, but we can do better.
Yeah, I've heard that before, definitely.
Well,
Wait.
all right. The last hard-hitting question, when we put... So we're going to say that Tempo and Roll20 are leaders of the pack, just because you guys are here. You aren't actually. We're just going to say that. Maybe you are. I don't know. But if we say, looking at this list of just from last year's standings, that Gale Force and Team Freedom are side by side, who's stronger?
Gale Force and Team Freedom?
Yeah.
Team Freedom, for me.
Yeah, I'll have to agree with that too.
So good consistency in that regard for them, you know.
I think, if anything, just like the biggest problem, I guess, for the NA region is just that lack of consistency, and like that's the difference probably between the top three and the rest of the teams, and that consistency drops when it comes to international.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, I think if any,
is it just because like different play styles? Like, what would you guys say the biggest detriment is to your team in your experience? Goku will go with you on this since you've actually played in these international events. What throws you off? Is it just the rhythm is different from the teams you're playing against? You're not in your same comfort zone, or what?
It's just when it comes to international, like I think for China this is a little bit different case because the meta did change within China.
Yeah. Okay. But just in general, though, let's just.
But just in general, yeah. Right now, it's just like teams in international give you less of a chance to catch up. When they get a lead, they keep it, and when they come back from like if you give them the opportunity to give them a lead, they'll snowball it out of control. They know what to do, and it's just that difference right there is where it's like they're more consistent, but there is a chance for for us to like win the game. It's just that chance is a lot lower.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. We just gotta, get better at that, I guess, in NA, right?
Yeah.
Well, obviously, it's going to be a very different game with 2018, so it's going to be really fun to see things evolve because we talked about the 2018 update earlier. You guys even said you don't know if the meta has been found yet. And who knows what could change in the next month, right? If people are saying the game's too snowbally, we could have another big patch before HGC starts. HGC resumes January 18th, I think.
19th.
Well, is it that week or that day? Let me look it up.
It's about 3 weeks from now, regardless. So it's a fair bit of time. A patch could hit
17 days, apparently.
17
Yep.
days. So realistically, it's pretty darn likely the first week will be played on this patch based on that. But it could change 2 weeks in or something. Bakery, obviously, Europe. You've been playing in that scene for a long time, and although you're not playing right now. We got to get a preview with Fnatic and Team Dignitas. We know the new rosters. What are your expectations for next year?
So my expectations when I saw the new rosters are basically the same as my expectations now. I think Dignitas is pretty clearly a cut above the other teams. Now, during this week, we did actually see an announcement from Team Fnatic and Quacknix, who announced that he's going to be role swapping. From being the main carry of the team to being the flex player, and Mene is going to be the new main carry. As for my personal thoughts on that change, I think it's a bad one. I don't think Quack's strength has ever been his hero pool, although the same could be said for Mene. But Mene has always struggled to perform on hyper carries in metas where the hyper carrier's role is to be the space creator for the team. When Mene has space, he destroys kids. He is probably the best player in the world if he has space. But when it comes to making space, he's never been good at it, and he's never actually excelled. So I don't think Mene on hyper carry is something that's good for the team. And they're going to try it out, so they're going to see how it goes. But personally, I'm now less confident about Fnatic, especially since they've made that decision after being a team for 2 weeks and playing a tournament. Like just one tournament and just 2 weeks. Like, I feel like there probably should have been more time put into the roles they had, which in my opinion made the most sense. So I think Dignitas is quite a cut above everyone else. I think Liquid, Expert, Tricked, Zealots are all very competitive, and they'll be just one step below Fnatic, very, very close. At week 1, by the end of the first 5 weeks, that order could have shaken up, and 1 or 2 of those teams could have risen to be on the same level as Fnatic. One of them could have possibly overtaken, but I still don't think anyone would be that close to Dignitas, and I think Diamond Skin and Leftovers are looking pretty secure at the bottom, at least on week 1. Yeah. If any of them get quite rapid improvement as the split goes on, then that could definitely change, and they could start rising to the 5th and 6th positions.
Goku, what were your impressions of Fnatic and Dig when you played against them in China?
When we faced against Dig, they definitely did feel like a cut above the rest, and even then, like, they even performed it on stage. They're significantly stronger in my opinion, and like Poik is just a beast, honestly, just on the range carry right now. And that was, I think that if I'm correct, that was his first LAN. I don't know if I'm correct about that, but with Fnatic, I feel like over time they can be stronger. They didn't feel like as strong as Dignitas, but I think if you give them time, and even with these changes, I think they can catch up back to that. I guess like that contest the first spot. But right now, I feel like coming into the next split, I think their spot's going to be contested. That second place spot.
Oh, so you're immediately echoing Bakery. Just Dig all the way, and after that, who knows? I mean,
well, in chat though, Snitz did actually pop in and say that Dig expletive suck. So maybe he's not as confident as us.
Yeah, Dignitas definitely seems way stronger now, but I don't know. I feel like Fnatic's going to be able to contest a #1 spot if they just spend the time it takes in order to get comfortable as a team with roster changes. Like, as somebody who has made role changes, as somebody who's made role changes on Tempo Storm before, like, it takes a lot of time in order to get people used to those things, especially if they haven't done it really before. So like in regards to Quacknix and Mena, I think that it's just going to take time. Bakery is right in that Mena hasn't traditionally performed that great on hypercarry heroes, but I actually think that he's the kind of player that can put in the time and put in the commitment to, if that's his like specific role, to be able to make that sort of roster change work for his team. Or sorry, role change. I keep saying roster. Role change work for his team. So I think they can contest top spot.
Well, we are winding down here, but we are going to check out some viewer questions before we roll out tonight. So you just type !Discord in the live chat, and we will take questions in the Town Hall channel on our Discord server, the Arcanate Discord server.
So the first question is from Argy, who asks, how many perceived upsets do you think will happen in NA and EU HCC in the first few weeks, or do you think it's going to be quite standard, like the winner before the series starts?
I think the teams will know, but I don't think the casters will know, and I don't think the community will know. So there will be a lot of perceived upsets, but everybody who has scrimmed these teams will be like, yeah, no, that makes sense.
So give us some predictions for this first week here.
So
Yeah, I
Old
gotta
God
look
Gale
at this.
Force, Old God Gale Force, LFM Space Station.
I don't know if I'm comfortable doing that yet.
No,
Okay.
you're on
We
the
still have a
spot.
lot of time. We still have a lot of time. Like
17
feel like-
days.
I do feel like Space Station will win that series. I don't think they'll win it handedly.
So somebody call Intel and tell them to send me a more powerful processor or something, guys. Sorry about that. I'm really sad that my PC's doing this. But anyways, LFM Space Station, you guys gave it to Space Station. Old Gods Gale Force. Any thoughts on that?
I think it'll be very close. That's what I
Really?
I can't say one or the other, but I think it'll be close.
I think it's gonna head to the fifth game, and I'm probably gonna give it to I'm gonna give it to Gale Force.
Okay, I'll do the same because I love you, Fury.
Okay.
All right, Space Station Old Gods. The next day. And then Tempo Heroes Hearth. Kyle, who's going to win the Tempo game?
Well memed, my lord. But I think Space Station wins and then Tempo wins.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to say the same. I do think there's a. Yeah, no, I agree.
Okay. So the veterans, basically, the teams that are a little bit more stable. GFE Freedom. I think you guys already said you think Freedom's better.
America.
Yeah. Freedom, and then Low 20 LFM is the last game.
I think that one's definitely gonna go to the side of Elephant. No, I'm just joking.
That's gonna be a really rough series, I think. Yeah. Yeah.
No confidence from Roll20. Okay. On the side of Europe, we can do the same. What happened? Oh, it's not in 2018 phase 2. So Zealots Tricked. I mean, Bakery. This is. You think this is even? You think it's pretty close?
That's a tough one. Ooh.
Europe is a lot closer as a region, right?
I'm gonna give it to Zealots in a 3-2. That really could go either way. I wouldn't be surprised if either of these teams comes out, by the way, and just absolutely smashes the other one. But yeah, no, that's tough for sure.
With Zealots, it feels like it just depends on the day. You know? If
Well,
they're
let's-
just like good on the day, like if they're ready to play.
Yeah. I mean, they're going to be a little bit different this season.
Like ADRD, like they still have Mopsio, they still have Zarmony, but a very different team.
Yeah.
For sure.
Mhm.
Oh, this looks so nice. The head-to-head. How do they not have a photo of Alex the Pro G? How many events has this guy been to?
Well, so they have updated photos for everyone, I think. There's not on the website yet.
Oh, because
So
the
we
summit.
can,
Yeah.
yeah, we can expect that.
How was
soon.
the summit, by the way? That's my question. Discord, I just typed in, how was the player summit, guys? Bakery and I weren't there. You got it's on you. It's on you, Colin.
Oh.
I didn't go.
Oh,
it
wait,
was
it's on me.
Goku, it's
yeah,
on you.
It was a short and sweet. How about that? I don't know, just the same as kind of the last summit, if anything. Just very quick.
All right. Well, thanks for keeping it interesting. Very quick.
So
Was there any bromance? Did anyone spoon? We need the deets, the juicy
Okay.
deets.
From what I heard from my teammates is that one, they wish I was there, and two, they basically just really enjoyed being able to spend pretty much as much time as they wanted with the other teams. Like it felt like an NA regional again, which was really nice. Like everybody just got to hang out and do whatever they wanted because time wasn't a huge restriction for everybody there. So yeah, professionally speaking, nothing too wild happened, or like not a lot of information went out that is like, holy cow, these players got so much cool stuff, right? But they got to hang out with each other and just be close like an NA family, and yeah, apparently everybody loved it for that reason.
All right.
It was
So
very
you guys are gonna have to keep writing your own, fanfics for the players. They're not going to give you the deets public. You just got to keep writing them. But it's all canon. Don't worry. So Liquid and Zealots. What do you think about the new Liquid Bakery?
So I think Liquid should beat Leftovers the day before quite easily.
Yeah.
I think New Liquid is a complete and total side grade, which is great news because they have a lot higher potential just because they haven't started together yet. They haven't gotten to train for very long. I think Etherno is a player who's always hovered, like at the start of the European scene, he was at the top, and he just kind of slowly went down over time, in my opinion, because he wasn't especially motivated to be one of the best players. He was content where he was. But the fact he went to Liquid and the fact that I've seen him playing a lot of Hero League, I think he's hungry again. And that's great news for them because I think he has the potential to be a great player if he's hungry. So complete and total side grade in the short term. As they level up and get stronger, I think they can be even better than the previous roster. So I'm cautiously optimistic about Liquid. And I think they'll take this series against Zealots. It could be quite close. It could be 3-0, it could be 3-2, but I think they'll take it. And the next day, I think Expert will beat Diamond Squid quite easily as well.
But the battle of the Aussies.
I think the better Australians on Expert's side.
Who has the better facial hair? Kala. Is it Arcaner?
Oh, Arcaner.
Not even close.
Uncontested better. Oh, yeah. I mean, Robodoba is, I guess... no, it's Arcaner. Yeah, sorry. I tried to make an argument. I can't do it. It's Arcaner. It's just too dirty. The mustache is too dirty, you know?
Fair. It's a fair point.
I mean...
Going on to the Sunday, I think that day is the clearest cut. So far, I think Dignitas were fair picked, and I think Fnatic were fair leftovers.
Yeah, I don't think there's too much contest there, but should be a good start to the season. It's still a few weeks away, January 19, 20, and 21st when HGC resumes, but honestly, I'm excited. They also, I mean, you can go to the 2018 Phase 1, and you can kind of look through the overview to get an idea of what the season looks like. The Western Clash is slated for March 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. We don't know where that is. It does not have any information about it. It just says when it's going to be. And then the Eastern Clash will be March 12 through 19. And then we have the finals, playoffs starting on April 23rd. And then the Crucible is on the 30th. But actually, the finals aren't listed here. Oh, my.
That's correct. So they haven't announced where mid-season will be just yet. You
guys surprised?
Original ideas were DreamHack Summer, but obviously that could not be the case.
Oh, yeah. The last thing that we haven't talked about is ANZ is actually getting basically a major region overhaul, even though they're still considered a minor region. And they still have to compete with Latin America for a spot in the Western Clash. So it's pretty interesting. Are you guys surprised to see ANZ get the big upgrade for their region?
I'm not surprised. I think it's fantastic. I think that those smaller regions really do have the potential to have great players come out of them. So having better infrastructure for HGC in those regions is going to be nothing but a benefit to the scene. Both on a regional perspective and an international perspective. So I love it.
Did any of you see this coming? The upgrades for ANZ?
No, personally not.
No. I wonder if Robodo and Arcaner would have stayed in ANZ if they knew this opportunity was going to be there. Or if they're just happy to be playing in the better region.
I think Arcaner definitely came for the competition. He wants to be recognized as one of the best players in the world. So I think even if he would get more money staying in ANZ, I think he would have come to you.
Huh.
I agree with that. I think both those. I think it'd be said for both of those players.
Cool. Well, any other questions in the chat you guys noticed that caught your eye in the Discord?
Oh,
there's one that's a bit interesting. So he asked me, how did my Twitter poll go? So I had a poll on Twitter, and I asked people, what was your favorite HCC tournament to watch this year? And I'll post it in Twitch chat, and overwhelmingly 56% of people preferred the mid-season brawl. with 7% on Western Class 1, 5% on Western Class 2, and 32% on BlizzCon.
Interesting. That's actually really interesting to me.
Now, the Midseason Brawl was a slightly better format, though, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's slightly is an understatement.
Best of 5. You know, best of 3s are cool. When the whole regular season is best of 5s, and then your biggest tournament has best of 3s. That's
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not upset about that.
I didn't think a format would change the voting like that much, though. Keep in mind, I haven't like gone back and watched it as a production front to back because obviously I was there in person. So I always have to take the perspective of Twitch viewers into mind. So, but when I first read those results, I did find them quite interesting.
To me, Midseason Brawl was more memorable than BlizzCon as well. Just as a tournament, just the state of the meta. I think double support at BlizzCon hurt it a lot too because the meta was kind of sleeper status there where we were compared to MSB. So that's interesting. But yeah, nice. Well, big shout outs to you guys for joining us on the show tonight. Naturally, you guys not only players and coaches and analysts, but you guys are content creators in your own rights. And well, at least I know Kala does a lot. But Goku, where can everyone follow you? And thanks for joining us, man.
You can follow me on Twitter, Goku_Hots, and I don't know, maybe I might stream in the future. Maybe, I don't know. It's unsure. I still have things to work out with, but we'll see.
90% of pros that don't stream say that and never do it. Change that ratio. Change that. Do it.
We'll see. We'll see.
Kala.
Sure. You can find me on Twitter at CurtisLloydNBD, right below there. And then my Twitch is twitch.tv/Kala, Kala. Or discord.gg/Kala. I pride myself in being a content creator that is aimed at making people better at Heroes of the Storm, whether you're bronze or all the way up to Grandmaster. So I produce content every day or two on YouTube that's just aimed at coaching the community. It is called community coaching. So if you check out any of my YouTube videos or anything like that, you can join and do coaching sessions with me for free. So just check out those channels and I would be more than happy to have you. And thank you guys for hosting both of us.
Any other shout outs, guys? I know you guys said thanks, but yeah, shout outs.
If anything, shout outs to Roll20. They've been a great sponsor for us, you know, supporting us, and always been there when we needed them. And shout outs to you guys for obviously inviting me. I liked it. It was very enjoyable.
Good. And yeah, myself as well. Shout out to my teammates and Tempo Storm and all of our sponsors. And then I'm right now at some people from the Heroes of the Storm community's house visiting in the United States. So shout out to Hotaro and Gokiburi and my girlfriend Alieska.
The one who bakes.
That's a good nickname. Yeah, so shout outs to everyone who tuned in today. Thanks for watching. Shout outs to, of course, both Kala and Goku for coming on and being such great guests. Shout outs to Dunk Train for ditching us to go on holiday. Can you believe it, Jake?
God, no passion.
If you want to follow me, you can find me on Twitter, which is @BakeryHeroes, or on Twitch, where I'm streaming regularly, and I should have a schedule in the coming weeks, which is twitch.tv/bakery.
Well, echo all that. Happy holidays to everyone who supports our show on Patreon or here on Twitch. It's really been crazy. This is going to be the last show of the year as the year is over. Happy New Year's, happy holidays. Mega shout out to everyone on my personal stream, twitch.tv/solidjakegg, as I doubled in subs last week, which is literally never happened before in my life as a streamer, and the support is well received and very much appreciated. I'm doing 3 12-hour streams next week, and on Friday I'm giving away a Heroes of the Storm mouse and mouse pad. So that's going to be at 4 p.m. Eastern on Friday, the 29th of December. The giveaway will be there, so check that out. Thank you guys so much for all the support. And next week, we will not be having a show on the 3rd. On the 10th, we are actually doing Town Hall Dungeons and Dragons. It's a backer reward from the support from Bloodlust. We promise that if we hit $10,000, we'd be using the Roll20 app to produce a Dungeons and Dragons campaign that'll be 3 or 4 hours long. Roll20 is actually helping us out and giving us some resources for it. And we're going to do a really fun show. It'll be everyone that was on Town Holiday. So me, Bakery, Dunk Train, Zoya, March, and then Alex Naiman from the Heroes from Dev Team will be the Dungeon Master. I've never played D&D in my life. I'm not gonna spoil some of our characters. Some of us have started making our characters for it, committing to the different races and stuff. But it's gonna be a fun show, I feel. And yeah, no, that's it. So GG's, guys. And honestly, Kala, Goku, you guys were amazing. Thank you all for the insight tonight.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
GG's, everyone. Have a good night.